on when I was reading this morning a couple of the headlines from the November energy update, because I knew I wanted to intuit what was going to be useful to expand upon with all of you. The first headline I was given by the Z's for November was, "Will you rise? Will you rise with the energy of these times?" I'm very aware on a human level that a lot of you and a lot of people in the world and a lot of us, depending on the day or the moment, can feel exhausted, battered, over it, all the stuff that's playing out. But they're very specific. When I saw this sentence and I was like, really? And they were like, no, please, that's what we need you to talk about. So even if you've got stuff going on in your life right now, even if right now you would give me a list of all the things that are against you or that you're trying to solve, we can let that be the truth. We can let that be a part of your reality. But if that is your story, I want you to just try and emphasize what I'm about to say. This electrical energy can be enlivening. It can activate your awareness in ways that you've never had before. So that can look like suddenly becoming more intuitive or more psychic. Or it could make a difficult relationship in your life suddenly make sense. So for example, you've been fighting with a friend for 3 or 4 months and you kind of, there's stuff coming up for you and there's some healing in it, but you can't get to the bottom of it. During that mid-November to mid-December period, clarity can rise so clearly where you suddenly go, oh my God, we're playing out my abandonment wound that I played out with my mom. And I've kind of cast her in that role to play that out for me. And whenever we become aware of something, it's often the beginning of changing it. The Z's said, this is in the Energy Speaks book, and I just shared this again with the initiation group last week. One of the quotes from them that I've always remembered as a guidepost for myself: awareness is the precursor to change. So when we become aware of something, it can start a change process. But if we're not aware, we're often stuck in it. We're often in the fight or in the emotion. So one of the aspects that came to me quite strongly this morning preparing for you today is awareness and clarity can really go through the roof between mid-November and mid-December. And that doesn't necessarily have to move you into action. Sometimes it's really good to let yourself have the awareness of something and let the feeling and the change inside you because of it settle before you make a change. So for example, we're often in fight or flight trauma response when we suddenly go, oh my God, I've just realized my friend isn't good for me. Pick up the phone. I'm not seeing you anymore. Bye. Great. I feel good for like 10 minutes. But then I've been so quick about it and so reactive that I haven't really necessarily allowed my body to settle in with the emotion. Now, I have done that, by the way, so I'm not saying, if you've just done that to someone and you're sitting there going, oh God, why did I do? Don't worry, we've all done it. It can be part of a phase of growth. I think when we first learn boundaries, when we've perhaps not given ourselves permission to have boundaries, it can be a bit extreme or a bit harsh at first. But the reason I'm asking you to, between mid-November and mid-December, just be aware of this rising clarity, is our energy in our nervous system, which right now has a tendency to be more amplified because the nervous system of the world is more amplified and we're all feeling each other all the time. Just be mindful of quick, sudden moves that aren't necessarily grounded or supported. And even if you think you might get like a quick fix from telling that friend, I'm not your friend anymore, that quick fix soon fades. And then you have to pick up the pieces and figure out what happened. So again, I want to clarify, if you've just done that, don't worry, it's okay. If you're now going, oh my God, it's okay, we've all been there. The reason I'm addressing this today is what they were saying to me this morning is there's going to be a lot of awareness and a lot of clarity rising. And the human way of processing that has often been to very quickly act. And the message is, if you can see that period as an electrical time, And it's not necessarily the easiest or the smoothest time to push your new awareness into action. Be better if you wait till like mid-December and onwards. You can have a more successful use of that energy storm that we're going to be in. It will also be quite a magical time, meaning the higher dimensions, the intuitive realms, visionary energy is going to be very accessible, but with a caveat. You aren't going to find it necessarily super easy to jump between worlds in that period. So you might find for you, it's a very human time. You might be talking to me in December and go, oh God, Lee, for me, between November to mid-December, I had all this stuff with my family and I realized all these things I needed to change. So for you, it might be very grounded. That doesn't mean you're away from the magic, but it's not going to be easy for you to flip between modes because the energy requirements in an electrical storm are a little higher for all of us. Think of it as going through an energetic asteroid field. You have to be a little more dexterous. You have to be a bit more on your game. So as ever, keeping up with your self-care routines, whatever they look like, even if they've just changed this week, being mindful of that heightened energy, but also being mindful of the reactivity around you. I mean, I think one of the things that's exhausting for so many of you and us who are sensitive is the reactivity that we're seeing right now. You know, there's a lot of emotion and judgment, blame, division flying around, none of which will do us any good because it's going to keep us all rooted nicely in the third dimension and lower. So just be mindful for yourself of, okay, it's going to be an asteroid field kind of time. I may have clarity or awareness during this time. I may find myself more in the magical, like the visioning, the downloads, the intuition, and I might want to stay there as much as I can for that month. Or you might find that it's a month where a lot of shift and change happens for you. Notice how you respond to your perception of what I'm saying. Your perception of what I'm saying is going to be different for everybody. I mean, I know this because having done these kinds of broadcasts now for over a decade, and in the portal, I think we're over 8 years. I'm always struck when I read some of your comments in the forum, how differently people hear things. One person will be convinced the Z's said this, and I remember I'll read it and go, I don't think they were saying that. And then someone else will say something else. So all of us, including me, have our own perception of what we're hearing and what's going on. But the reason I want you to be aware of your reactions to what I have just told you about the November to December time is it's going to give you a very good clue as to how you need to support yourself. So I'll give you an example. If your reaction was, oh God, Lee, I just can't face an asteroid field, I haven't got it in me. Great, pay attention to that. Don't just see that as a reaction. See that as a great clue as to how you need to support yourself. I know for me, whenever I feel weary or overwhelmed or overloaded, I have now learnt, didn't used to have this capacity, but I have now learnt, oh, well, nothing's going to change inside me unless I create some changes outside me. So for me, that's like, okay, I need to adjust how much is on the schedule this week so I get more space. I need to pay more attention to my diet this week and make sure I'm feeding myself correctly for the energy output that's required of me, and also I'm clearly needing a bit more nourishment. So I kind of look at it from all ways round. Let me speak to that friend, or let me share with Stephen how I'm feeling so that I can feel heard or supported. There's many different things that I will do to up my self-care, my support of myself, the support I allow outside me. And we're all going through a time right now where the needs for that energy maintenance are really important. And you will be around people who have no awareness of that. You'll be around people that you love and adore who have no awareness of that. So being mindful of tracking the energy that you need to be in to keep yourself afloat, being mindful of what's going on in the people around you and how you're imbibing it or absorbing it, and also being mindful of your reaction that you just had. Another example, You might have heard me say there's going to be an asteroid field electrical storm between mid-November and mid-December, and you're like, yes, this is the time I've been waiting for. I've been feeling like something's coming, and that's brilliant. We all need to be exactly where we are. But one of the things that we as a society were not trained in was energy awareness, the awareness of our energy and the awareness of how we're doing. And so we're still a very, very young human society in that case. Now, I know most of you, that won't be the case. Perhaps you're very new to all of this. So you're sitting there going, well, actually, I'm really new to this, Lee. But the fact that you're drawn to it is the sign that this is a realm in your world that you are becoming more aware of. A friend I was speaking to a couple of days ago spoke to me about, well, do we all have guides? And how is it that you're tapping into them? And I said, for me, the perception was a part of the ceiling broke in my human capacity, because what I'm tapping into with the Z's is no different to what we're all walking through all of the time. The difference is whether or not we're perceptive, and often it starts for many becoming more intuitive to the outer realms and to messages and synchronicities and ways of manifestation. It starts within. It's why a lot of people come to spirituality through a health crisis. The body breaks down or it stops working in the way that it used to. And so when their ability to play their life at the old way gets very small, suddenly you have to widen in your energy field and you have to go beyond the limits of the body or the limits of your new life. So there will be a great many of you who either are surprised that you felt excited by the idea of this potent time we're about to walk through, or you feel a little intimidated. And I just want to remind you to pay attention to your reaction as an act of awareness. So for me, the difference happened when I shifted from living in my emotions and my thoughts to living in my emotions and my thoughts, but also being able to stand back and look at them and go, oh, hang on a second, Lee. Oh yeah, I've seen you in that mode before. Oh, you're tired again. Okay, well, and you don't like it when you're tired. So what do you need to do to not only change this short-term moment, but to slightly change your patterns in the future? For all of us, it's a little bit different. But for you, I want you to consider this time that we're about to go through is going to be very heightened. It doesn't need to be heightened in a bad way. But I want to come back to that sentence from the Z's, will you rise? We're all being asked to rise in this time in different ways. We might be asked to rise in how we speak in our life, the truth that we share, rising in our ability to not be combative with people, to figure out a peaceful or diplomatic way to have very awkward conversations. Because as we know, this very divided narrative has been playing out for the last couple of years, and it's pitting people against each other, which is, as we know, a great shame and a great risk to our society. So for some of you, it might be the case that your way right now is learning how to hold space for all the different opinions, but be a voice of diplomacy and perhaps a voice of education for others in your life. And that might be your rise. You might be surprised how you're speaking to family members or friends and you're like, whoa, this is new. That might be your rise. But that rise is going to lead you to your next phase of growth. We tend to, as a human being, focus on the next thing. Okay, what's the next? Oh, well, I'm getting married next year, so that's where all my okay, well, I'm getting married. But that act of getting married is going to hugely influence your next decade in all kinds of ways. So why I always enjoy the Z's perspective is because they zoom out. And what they have been training me in all these years is this ability to both be in it and also be able to zoom out and have more of a bird's eye view. That's going to really help you, especially in these coming years. And already now, we need that skill, that very ninja-like energy awareness that you can be in yourself and also kind of observing yourself, what's going on in a dynamic, and asking yourself, oh, I want to create some change here. Because it's going to be a very creative time still. Even with everything that's changing, adjusting, crumbling on the planet, they have been saying for a year now, this is an incredibly creative and innovative time. Don't be seduced into thinking it isn't. So, again, always this caveat from me, because I've been there. If you're on the floor right now, if you're having a hell of a time, your number one priority is to do everything you can to improve your current experience. You may not be able to make many big changes practically right now, but you can look after yourself a bit more because you recognize the stress you're under. However, if you're not on the floor or in a dark place or struggling, this is a really good time to hold space for you to expand in your life, in the world, and in your consciousness. Because that's the thing they keep talking about, that the consciousness of our planet is changing fast. This is just some of the turbulence that we're going through that is allowing us to shake off certain density as a human being. So don't be afraid of the healing either. I personally remember feeling like it wasn't good to be uncomfortable when I was younger. And I don't think there were many people in my life who encouraged me that discomfort was sometimes a part of growth and leading you to growth. Now, many of you, like myself, I'm sure, have really learned to befriend discomfort over the years, because the discomfort is the edge where we either choose to stay the same and put the lid back on, or this is uncomfortable because I'm breaking my own pattern and my own rhythm. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of energy flying around, and it might be coming through you. It might be coming through someone else in your life. You might have a friend suddenly slam the door in your face and you're like, whoa, what did I do? Sit with it and ask some intuitive questions. It may not have been as about you as you think. This is also going to be a time where you're going to see certain people coming back from your past for healing, whether they're sending you an email, whether they're calling you, connecting with you. There's a very healing energy in the air. So, if I now reflect on like the 9 things that I've just covered, you see what an asteroid field it is. And we're all different. So we're all going to find ourselves in different places on that journey. But there is a rise happening. And it's really important not to lose sight of that. And if you are losing sight of that, tap into people, places, and activities that help you rise. Because we need that right now, not just for ourselves, but for the collective.
Hey everybody, it's Lee here. I would love for you to join me for my free annual Solstice broadcast, happening on December 21st. If you enjoy my monthly energy updates, you'll want to be here for this, as I'm going to be discussing the energies to come for the year of 2022. It will be over an hour long, and I will also be channeling my guides, the Z's. Sign up is completely free, and if you can't join us live, you will get access to the video replay. You can register at leeharrisenergy.com/solstice. Big love and hope to see you there.